Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
GSMC, America is Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Emily Ferrier, here to bring you some uplifting stories in these trying times. Our first story, I just want to say that this week has been a pretty rough one, okay? But my solution for this is a little bit of happy news for you. So for the first one, it's all about pizza. I think nothing makes people happier than a good pie. You know, nothing brings us together like pizza does. So, without further ado, our pizza stories of the week. So, at Rockstar Pizza in Brownsburg, Indiana, owners Colby and Ron Matthews staff Christmas Day on a volunteer basis. Okay, so they volunteer for Christmas, but at the end of the day, whatever employees worked get to split the day's profits. That's entire profits. That's not salary-based allocated profits. That's the entire profits from the day. So this year, 7 employees staffed the pizzeria, and Colby said that each person took home more than $700 after their local community inundated the shop with orders. They always do well, he said, but this year it really caught on, and they had a huge turnout. This was quoted from Colby. He explained that the staff had originally planned to be open from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., and at 3 o'clock, the phone started going crazy. And finally, at 6:30, the staff called us and said, "Is there any way that we can turn off the phones? Because we have 60 orders to make." At 6:30, they were like, "We can't accept any more orders." And Colby said that she promotes the Christmas tradition on social media every year, but they've just never seen a response like the one that happened this year. They make a lot more than I could ever bless them with as a bonus, she explained. And it ended up being a really good night. She explained that her and her husband have basically donated all the pizza supplies so that they don't take $1 on their profits that were earned on Christmas Day from the staff. The social media post that she posted read, "Here at Rockstar Pizza, we have a Christmas tradition. We allow the employees who want to work to open the shop and keep 100% of the sales. It's our way of thanking them for their hard work all year long. And this year will be no different. We will open on Christmas Day from 4 to 9, and it will be carry-out only. We allow the employees to set the hours and restrictions because it's all about them. History has shown that we will be incredibly busy. Please show them grace and patience. It's the busiest 4-hour block of the entire year. Keto pizza is available while supplies last, which won't be long." Of course, you have to include the dietary restrictions within that. So, they just took over the shop, she said, and whatever money is made, it's divided between them. It's just a way to do more than we could ever do otherwise. They work hard and they earned it. They earned every dollar of it, and for some of them it's a big deal, and they can make a big difference in the amount of money in that short time. I can't even imagine making $700 in that short time, especially for something like that. Like, I've worked mostly minimum wage jobs my whole life, and I think I would be overwhelmed by making $700 in 4 hours. Colby chalked up the success of this year's Christmas sales to the growing profile of the pizzeria, which has thousands of followers on social media and has a wide, varied menu that attracts customers from all over the state. The employees walk out of there happy. This year was just really insane. I think that's the perfect way to celebrate the holidays, with a pizza. But wait, that's not all of our pizza news. Yes, there is another pizza story. This story comes to you from New Jersey. A New Jersey pizzeria is being praised for initiating the novel idea to help reconnect its lost pets with their owners. John Sanfratello of Matawan, New Jersey, was surfing Facebook, and he came across a photo of a local cat that had gone missing. But it looked really similar to his own cat, and since his own cat had gone missing, but was returned, Sanfratello decided that he really wanted to help out. So he came up with the idea to tape flyers on pizza boxes that were heading out for delivery from his restaurant, Angelo's Pizza. He said, "You know what? This will be this generation's milk carton," he told Today Food. "We used to post missing persons flyers and missing children's on milk cartons, and why can't we put missing pets on pizzas? What a brilliant idea. Everyone likes pizza. People eat pizza. A lot more people eat pizza now than milk, I'd say, probably. And if you see a picture of an animal on a pizza, you're more likely to look at it because it is out of the ordinary, and maybe you'd recognize it from around the neighborhood." Sanfratello and his employees had only been posting flyers on the boxes for a week, and the idea spread to other shops and is being just praised and liked and shared all over social media. So, Sanfratello posted an invitation on Facebook for locals to drop off flyers with their own missing pets to be put on these pizza boxes, and he woke up to dozens of messages, texts, and phone calls. So, he not only did he receive flyers, but he received praise from so many people. One customer said, "I'm going to drive all the way to Matawan to eat for this post so that my husband can get pizza as he owns his own pizzeria." Another said, "I love this. I don't live anywhere near you, but if I'm in the area, I'm only getting pizza from you." So the restaurant, this pizzeria, had been open for nearly 45 years. And he has never received this influx of calls before. He got calls from Australia. It just went absolutely viral. When asked why he thinks that this idea has become such a hit, he said, "I guess because pet owners really love their pets. Pets are family members." I completely agree with that. Every pet I've ever had has completely felt like a member of the family. And it's just, when it's a pet, they're just so innocent, and they're so sweet, and they're just so inherently good. They're so helpless, animals. And we want to do everything that we can to help. And I just think that's so sweet that somebody decided to do this. So because of this idea that Sanfratello and Angelo's Pizza put forth, many other pizzerias and restaurants and otherwise are also starting to be inspired by it. And many of them are also family businesses. And family businesses are really like the backbone of our society. They're the ones with the great ideas and the heart and the touch and the feel of it. One example is the Little Cupcake Bake Shop, a bakery and cafe with many locations in Manhattan and Brooklyn, is now offering to attach flyers featuring Lot's pets to boxes of its cakes, cupcakes, and other treats. Oh, that actually sounds really sweet, like a miniature version of the flyer on the cupcake ones and the other little small treats. We're big pet people, and we thought it was a great idea for the community. The Little Cupcake Bake Shop owner, Salvatore Lubgilo, I'm really sorry if I pronounced that wrong, told Today. Sanfratello's sisters, who each own their own pizzeria, location in Florida, are also offering the same service for their delivery orders. Sanfratello said about his new project, "The only regret I have is that I didn't do it sooner." What an incredible man. I really think that that's a beautiful, beautiful idea. And it's a lovely idea to do it with pets. I really love that they're doing it with pets, but I think that we should probably start to do it with missing persons as well. Not everybody looks at the news, because the news is very hard to take. It's really depressing and sad, and so I understand why people don't tune into the news, and then you might not see a missing persons ad. But if we're all helping each other out, if we're getting it out there in this way, like, this is the way to end the pain and to bring people home and to bring animals home. That's why we do this podcast, it's because the news is so tough. And we just want you to know that, like, America is still beautiful. And there's still incredible people like Sam Fratello who really just want to do their part to help our cause. So I think after that, I love pizza even more. And after the break, we're going to bring you a little story about baking that, in the end, will help people create a life for themselves. All that when we come back from the break.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. So before the break, we talked about pizza pie, and now on to dessert pie. At Sweet Generation, a bakery in Manhattan's East Village neighborhood, owner and founder Amy Chaston, who formerly worked in the Youth Development Education Center, has tried to combine her passion for baking and teach it to create Rise, an internship program that teaches young people ages 16 to 24 all of these life skills and professional developments for their futures. Chaston says, "We serve people from marginalized communities, specifically from low-income communities and young people of color. We train them on the job in the bakery, both in the kitchen and the counter, and we also run workshops focused on professional development and entrepreneurial thinking. It's important to us to work with these young people to create an opportunity for them to give them a leg up." So since the bakery's open, RISE, an acronym for Reach, Inspire, Shape, and Elevate, has helped more than 130 individuals. 130. So each year the program's offered for 8-week cohorts, which contain 7 to 15 participants. That's incredible. 130 people whose lives have been changed by this initiation from this incredibly generous person. So, some people eventually find jobs in Sweet Generation after completing the program. And she said about 75% of the staff was actually made up from former interns. Like, for example, Dina Bing started off as an apprentice and interned in the spring, and she said that her current role is much more major and hands-on than being an intern. She's quoted as saying, "I basically do everything front of house, which entails making coffee, taking cake orders, and dealing with our day-to-day customers." She's currently a freshman at college. I communicate heavily with the back of house to ensure production and make sure everything runs smoothly throughout the day. She said that both roles influenced her in a huge way, in the way that she looks at her career and prospects for her future. It's amazing, she says. It's the first time I've ever felt needed at a job. Usually it's like your typical fast food job. No one really needs you. They're just sort of hiring you to buffer you in. Here, your job, your role, your responsibilities are so needed that if you miss your task for the day, it messes with the production entirely. This is, I think, what's so important about this particular program, is that it teaches not only the basic skills and necessities for the operation of a bakery, but it actually shows you like how important each person is in a small business. Because when it comes to small businesses, it just simply can't function if one person isn't there or isn't giving it their all. And if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, then you can start your own business, and you've now learned the ways in which you can do that. I'm really impressed by this bakery. So let's move on with this. Fellow apprentice Leslie Caruso said she never imagined interning or working at a bakery. I didn't know what to expect, she said, because I came from a small high school where the priority was to never do extracurriculars. I never really got into internships, and when I was here, it was amazing. So Chasten is proud of her program, obviously, because it presents opportunities that bring her interns out of their comfort zones. She tries to help them develop self-confidence and fosters them in an environment in which they can pitch new ideas. I find this just so noble. I like to think that there are many people in this world that do that. I know personally, in my own career, in my own experience, I had a couple of people that, with no hidden agenda, did everything that they could to help me. They gave me some contacts. They gave me some ways of reworking things and writing and ways to sit down and try and work through problems. But more importantly, they taught me about attitude, and how to bring the right attitude into a situation that you might be intimidated by or scared of, or something that you really want, but you're so nervous that you're going to maybe mess it up or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. And just those talks and those sort of negotiations with myself that they were able to help me through are what led me to being able to create my own future and my own career. And that's, I think that's what Chasten is reminding me of now. Is like these incredible people that have helped me. So back to Chasten. Our model and our goal is to employ as many of the young people that we serve. And so we really look for participants that demonstrate a commitment to learning and developing their skill set. Those that demonstrate confidence and excitement about the position. And so we've been able to hire a number of both part-time and full-time former participants. Another example of one of these people that they did hire is Yesenia Oporta. She began her internship in 2015, and now she serves as the bakery's pastry cook and counter associate, but she didn't expect to be hired. I just sort of stopped in to say hi because I kind of missed being here. And they said, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I said, "Of course. This is great. I already know how to work here." So it's pretty awesome how that happened. Oporta is now 23, and she trains these interns and passes on her experience and her skills to them. And this is another reason it's so important, because these people that have had very little opportunity in the past and maybe have found their working world a little bit more difficult thus far, once they gave this opportunity to them and they trained them, they now feel confident and comfortable, not only in their own positions and their own careers and taking on that responsibility for themselves, but they now want to pass it on to others. Because when you're given an act of kindness like that, you do want to move it forward, want to continue with it. Oporta says, just a couple of weeks ago, I was working with one girl from front of house counter, and she did her first transaction. She was so proud of herself. It was so cool to see, because I felt like a lot of them lack that in their general day-to-day. So I do feel like it's really a place where they can get the confidence and the sense of pride that they wouldn't otherwise. And that's really important, to feel a sense of pride in what you do. It's very easy for other people to say, that's it? That's all you do? But when it's something that you wouldn't have been doing otherwise, or it's something that continues our society and makes people happy, like baking, it's very important, and it shouldn't be frowned upon. Even one transaction shouldn't be frowned upon. It should be exciting, and you should be excited about it. I remember I was doing a job that most people would consider a side job, and someone that I was around while I was working said, "Oh, are you putting yourself through school?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I've been through school. This is my job." And he said, "Oh, well, I hope that changes." I don't think that we should be looking down on other people's jobs like that. I don't think that you should ever say something like that. Like, every job is important. And I love that Chasten was able to give these opportunities to these people and show them that every job is important and that this job is important, and give them a sense of pride in what they're doing. When we return from the break, there's some more news on the incredible youth of America. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back from the break. When we left off, we talked about the bakery giving opportunities to young Americans, and now we're going to talk about the importance of those opportunities in more depth. For advancements in science news, we have 17-year-old high school student who discovered a new planet that's roughly 6.9 times larger than the Earth. And he did it all on the third day of an internship that he had with NASA. 17 years old, already discovered a massive, massive planet on his third day. He's now a senior at Scarsdale High School in New York. His name is Wolf Cockyer, and he landed a 2-month internship with NASA in the summer of 2019. The internship required him to examine variations of the star brightness through NASA's Transitioning Exoplanet Survey Satellite, aka TESS. Upon noticing a slight dip in brightness, he thought the variation might be due to a stellar eclipse. So he examined the data, and then he discovered that the dip was actually coming from a planet. Cockyer said, I was looking through the data for everything, and the volunteers had flagged an eclipsing binary, a system where two stars circle around each other and, from our view, eclipse each other every orbit. Sort of like we've noticed with other planets. About 3 days into my internship, I saw a signal from a system called TOI 1338. At first I thought it was a stellar eclipse, but the timing was wrong. It turned out to be a planet. NASA has actually since confirmed the findings and announced the discovery on their website this week. TOI 1338b is now called TESS, TESS's first circumbinary planet, a world orbiting two stars. The discovery is featured in a panel discussion earlier this month at the American Astronomical Society meeting in Honolulu. Cookyer has since co-authored a paper with scientist Goddard from San Diego State University and the University of Chicago and other institutions, and has submitted it to a scientific journal. The TOI 1338 system lies 1,300 light years away from the constellation Pictor. The stars orbit each other every 15 days, and one of them about 10% more massive than our sun. The other is much cooler, dimmer, and only has a third of the sun's mass. The planet that Cookyer discovered is the only known planet in the system, around 6.9 times larger than Earth, so between the sizes of Neptune and Saturn. And the planet orbits almost exactly the same plane as our stars, so it experiences regular stellar eclipses. And as if you weren't impressed enough by that 17-year-old's discovery, 3 days, remind you, 3 days into NASA, here's another one. A 14-year-old was awarded $25,000 for her invention that totally eliminates blind spots in your car using a projector. If you've ever struggled to see vehicles approaching the blind spots of your car, this young brainiac has come up with an ingenious solution. And she's not even old enough to drive a car. She's 14 years old. Elena Glasser designed a system that eliminates the blind spot by installing a webcam into the interior of the car so that it records live feeds of the objects on the other side. She then installed a small light projector inside of the car and the webcam's feed, which would be projected onto the part of your car that blocks the needed view. Once the system's online, the parts of the car structure prevent the driver from fully seeing their surroundings are rendered, seemingly invisible on the projector. What an incredible discovery. This is a 14-year-old girl that has already just eclipsed anything I could ever imagine. She first got the idea after she saw her mom kind of struggling to see past the blind spots in her car. And she just really hopes that it'll prevent collisions in the future. I can't imagine, at that age, seeing something that my mom was struggling with and wanting to do something to change the structure of a car and the behavior of a car to help alleviate that. Alina says, there are so many car accidents and injuries and deaths that could have been prevented from a pillar not being there. And since we can't take it out of the cars, I decided to get rid of it without getting rid of it. Earlier this week, the teenager from West Grove, Pennsylvania won the $25,000 Foundation Prize, which is the top award for Broadcom Masters in Science and Engineering competition for middle school students. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like she probably deserves more than just a middle school prize. This is something that is revolutionary and could save a lot of human lives. I feel that Elena probably has a lot coming to her. The president and CEO of the Society for Science and the public publisher of Science News says, congratulations to Elena, whose project has the potential to decrease the number of automobile accidents by reducing blind spots. The president, of course, is Maya Ajmera. With so many challenges in our world, Elena and her fellow Broadcom Masters finalists make me optimistic for the future, she added. Honestly, these kids are absolutely baffling to me. I just can't believe, the amount of potential involved in young minds in America. And these sorts of potentials can be unlocked by perhaps, programs such as Amy Chassen's program, showing them that they can take control of their future and make advancements that they never saw possible. When we return from the break, I want to talk more about youth, but this time I want to talk about the generosity of an organization to help the LGBTQ youth of America. More on that when we come back from the break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Before we took a short break, we are celebrating our youngest citizens from innovation in our last segment, and now we're going to celebrate the youth in charity and donation. A Cincinnati LGBTQ organization received a blessing in the form of celebrity retweets this week when the late-night talk show host Seth Meyers urged his followers to support this organization's fundraiser. The co-founders of Transform, a donation-based organization that helps transgender children build wardrobes to fit their new gender identity, said that they'd raised about $30,000 as of Thursday this evening. And they do thank the late night show host's acknowledgement. We're almost to $30,000, and honestly, it's so close, I'm hoping we make it by the end of the day, Tristan Vogt said, one of the organization's 3 co-founders. And he tweeted this on Tuesday. This extends beyond a few new clothes for wardrobe. This reaches further than moments that a community is built in our tiny shop. My life is being changed just observing the difference that this is making in real time. Transform currently offers a free service to local transgender youth between ages 6 and 18 who've begun their transition. And they're raising to help purchase a new space to expand and accommodate other clients as well. Vaught said, the current basement location is small and it's full of mold, dust, and dirt, but his team want to make it feel like a safe space for their young clients who desperately need a safe space. The founder, Vaught, and his friend, Ella Dostalum, and her mother, Nancy Dawson, founded the initiative when Ella's sister came out as trans. You're not only completely changing your wardrobe, Ella said, but you're also like a teenager, and you're changing your style constantly. It's important to have a space where everyone's telling you you look great, making you feel good about yourself, and good about what you want to do with your look. I know as a youth, I definitely struggled with feeling comfortable in my skin, and I'm cisgendered, so I can't even imagine the struggle that these young teens are going through making transitions in their lives. And for a small business to create an initiative to help others completely for free and not for profit, but just out of the goodness of their hearts, you don't see that in a corporate society anymore. You don't see that in a capitalist society very much. The founders said that their goal was to create a sanctuary where young people could pick out clothing to fit their lifestyles in a comfortable and non-judgmental place. We've kind of become a community center for these kids and their parents. They keep coming back. They want to stay and they want to hang out. I didn't expect this at all. We've always said, we're here to help you get started on your journey to be authentically you. But what we found is that it's really about making that community. I see these families and they want to support their kids, but they're strapped for cash, Vaught added. It seems like the most simple thing to do, right? But for some people, it's miles away. And that's why we also want to stay very accessible. Obviously, it being in a basement makes it quite difficult. Basements aren't accessible to every person, and we also don't want people to have clothing that could possibly be infected by mold, right? So, if you can donate for this place, I think it would be amazing for you to toss a few extra coins in it. This is so important for the community. The LGBTQ youth actually makes up a massive portion of youth in America without access to funds for clothing and shelter. Homelessness in the LGBTQ youth community is still a huge, huge problem. And this isn't an end, but it is a start. It's amazing to see people come together to help alleviate this. I know this was a short segment, so I'm sorry about that, but I would like to hear your comments. And if you know anyone else that we can donate to, please leave them in the comments, and we can share and grow together in this endeavor. When we return, we talk about something that most people conceive as a broken household, but they don't need to be broken. We're talking about divorce and how to keep the happiness you feel with your family when your family is a little bit different than the normal traditional one. We're going to talk about that when we get back from the break.
Pets bring such joy to our lives, and the GSMC Pets podcast is here to share in that joy. We'll tell stories of pets finding their forever homes, acting in unexpected ways, being helpful, or just being silly. Whether you love dogs, cats, llamas, reptiles, fish, or you've never met an animal you didn't like, the GSMC Pets podcast is for you.
Welcome back. We've talked about the generosity of people, and we've talked about the generosity of spirit. But now we're going to talk about the generosity of love. A Boston dad is reminding parents that just because you're divorced doesn't mean that you have to stop being kind to one another. Billy Flynn Gadboy wrote in a Facebook post about how he woke up early to buy flowers, cards, and breakfast ingredients so that his kids could surprise their mom, his ex-wife, on her birthday. "It's my ex-wife's birthday today," he said, "so I got up early and I bought flowers and cards and a gift over for the kids so they could go give her a new breakfast, and then he helped him make that breakfast. Per usual, someone asked me why the hell I still do things for her all the time. This annoys me. So I'm going to break it down for all you. I'm raising 2 little men. The example I set for how I treat their mom is going to significantly shape how they see and treat women and affect the perception of their relationships. I think even more so in my case, because we are divorced. So if you aren't modeling good relationship and behavior for your kids, get your blank together. Rise above it and be an example. This is bigger than you. Raise good men. Raise good women. Please. The world needs them now more than ever. Per usual, someone asked me why the hell I still do things for her. Wow. It's pretty upsetting that in this day and age, we think that if you're divorced, that you need to be horrible to the person that you once had a family with, to the person that you created children with. I just love hearing things like this. I love hearing that Gadboy decided to go against the grain. That he didn't let the negative feelings that he had in his talks and his divorce with his wife lead to petty behavior in front of these children. We decided early on that we were going to put the effort into co-parenting, he said. We just think it's really important to show each other the respect and care in front of our kids. Kids want to take care of their parents, and they can't do it alone. So, if it's Mother's Day, and the kid doesn't have anything to give his mom, that doesn't feel great. This is actually a two-way street. I'm not giving Gadboy all of the praise, because the thing is, when these things happen, we tend to thank the man and leave out the woman. But women work unbelievably hard for very little praise as well. So do men, and I'm not saying that men don't. It is lovely to hear this, but it's also lovely to hear that the other side is just as supportive. His ex-wife makes sure that their sons have a present for him as well. She wants to make sure that they're modeling good behavior as well. It's obviously difficult, and it's easier than said and done, but it's worth the effort. Divorce can really bring out the worst in people, and it takes work to get the relationship to a point where you can co-parent like this, he said. His post went absolutely viral after it was shared in the Love What Matters Facebook page. I'm not saying everyone needs to help the kids make breakfast, but the message people are getting is that you can show each other respect and care in front of the kids and help the kids care for that parent, regardless about how you feel each other. Making these children feel like they're loved is what matters most, I think. I'm not a child of divorce, but I am someone who's experienced falling out of love. I'm lucky enough that these things have happened to me when I don't have children with the person and I don't have to see them, but I really hope that I would be the person that in the future would see them and grace them with kindness, the kindness that we once shared with each other. Because when you are married, you do share a life together. You share love, and there was certainly love there. There was love there when you married, and there will be a certain amount of love there always, especially because you share children together. What I love about this story is seeing people not only do these lovely things and care for each other, but advocate for others to do the same. I'd like to hear in the comments about what nice things you do for people that you might have had a difficult relationship with. The importance of forgiveness, the importance of gratitude, and most importantly, the importance of love. When we come back from the break, I have a little roundup of good news that I heard this week. So stay tuned for that when we come back.
the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. So in the last segment, we talked about working together to make a happy life for children of divorce. And now, I want to give you a quick roundup of good news from the week in a little quick fire round. So here's what you might have missed. Crafters across the globe are sewing, knitting, ironing, and more to aid Australian wildlife, whose numbers have been devastated by the raging wildfires. I know you heard about the wildfires. It's dominating our news. It's very hard to talk about anything but it. But there is some good news with this. Crafters are making protective cloth pouches for young kangaroos and other marsupials, as well as creating bat wraps and others for the rescue volunteers down under to use to help the animals recover. The animals are one of the most important things about these wildfires. They can't help themselves. They don't know what's going on, and it's very difficult for them to evacuate. So I love hearing that people just across the world are creating these things to save these animals. Number 2, a World War II veteran finally receives the Medals of Valor that he earned. A Massachusetts man finally received his Medals of Valor at the age of 103. Peter Fantasia of Somerville received 8 medals, including a Bronze Star and a World War II Victory Medal, in a ceremony on Monday, which Representative Seth Moulton presented him with long-deserved awards. I'm not sure what happened that took such a long time for Peter Fantasia to receive his award, but I am glad that he finally got it. It's really good news for someone to get his deserved medal. Number 3, scientists put 3D glasses on a cuttlefish. Researchers at the University of Minnesota put 3D glasses on a cuttlefish and showed it a video of a shrimp. And what they found will help better understand the species evolution, and this can contribute to health medicine and neuroscience. I loved this story. I read a little bit more into it, and at first, the cuttlefish would put on their 3D glasses and sort of play around with them, not really understanding what they were. But they were so shocked when they saw the shrimp that seemed to be coming out at them. They didn't quite understand that they couldn't touch it. I love the idea of putting on 3D glasses on a little cuttlefish and putting it in front of Avatar or Toy Story, and just seeing what they would think of these moving shapes. Number 4, and this is some great news for us. Buying a house may now be easier for millennials. The Great Recession set back the early careers of many millennials, prompting young adults slapped with massive student loan debt to live with relatives or rent and put off home purchases. But now the starter home is making a comeback. Builders are now putting up more small, low-priced homes as the demand from the millennials picks up. The comeback is also helping address a nationwide shortage of affordable housing for low to middle income Americans of all age gaps. Personally, I've been very affected by this, and it's really nice to hear that it's finally starting to come back around. I personally thought, I'm never going to be able to afford a house. It's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to be settled. I'm just so happy that this is finally changing. Number 5. Drinking tea may help you live longer. Consider pouring yourself a cup of tea. Hold the milk and sugar, of course. A new study suggests that people who drink black tea 3 times or more a week may actually live longer and suffer a lower risk of cardiovascular disease than non-tea drinking counterparts. So, maybe England actually has the right idea there. Maybe we should grab a cuppa instead of a cup of joe next time. Our final story in this quick fire round is a 105-year-old woman renews her driver's license. Lois Estes Paulson first learned to drive on a farm and drove area kids to their schoolhouses in her early teen years, nearly 100 years ago, 90 at least, before she ever needed a license to do so. This past fall, at 105, she successfully renewed her driver's license, making her the 4th oldest licensed driver in Illinois, according to the state's office. This is just in Illinois. I wonder how many people over the age of 100 still have their license. If you're listening and you're over the age of 100 and you have your license, I would love to hear from you. Because I do not have a license. I've actually never driven a car before. But now, seeing somebody get it at 105, maybe I still have a little bit of time. I hope that you guys have enjoyed listening to these stories. I know I've enjoyed telling them. I really love seeing and hearing good news in these trying times. There's still beauty in America. Let's just try to see it. Thank you for listening to the GSMC America is Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review and rate the episode. It really helps us when you give it up votes. Also, if you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be incredible. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news, and even weird news, the GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast.